We are with Jane Hoppy, and she is the Director of Rehabilitation.
The Rehabilitation Coordinator here, yes.
Coordinator. And we're at the Dolphin Rescue Center in Orleans. It's run by IFAW, the International Fund for Animal
Welfare.
Welfare,
Correct.
welfare, yes. Right. So tell us about this facility. How old is it?
Yeah, I'd love to. So our facility actually opened just last year. It was opened in October of 2023, and it's a 4,200 square foot facility. We've got a laundry room. We generate lots of laundry. A fish prep room, so we're able to offer nutrition to our animals that are in our care. We recently did renovate, so our new pool, we used to have two 16-foot diameter medical pools. And we now have one. After having two patients in the house, we decided to have a longer stretch of a pool so they could just have a longer swim and better observe their behavior. So this is a 17-foot by 30-foot pool. We also have an education and outreach room, an office, and a laboratory here where we're able to do a lot of diagnostic work and run in-house blood work and things like that.
So tell us about, is it specifically for dolphins or?
It is. So ideally right now, single-stranded cetaceans or dolphins or porpoises for the most part. So what we have, if you don't mind a little history.
Yes, please.
So here on Cape Cod, it's actually a mass stranding hotspot. So we see a higher frequency of dolphin mass strandings, which is a stranding of two or more dolphins, which excludes a mom-calf pair because they're considered one unit, that strand at one place basically in one time. So we see the most anywhere in the world, the highest frequency. 25% of all live dolphins that strand in the United States strand right here.
Oh.
We cover all of Cape Cod, and that extends south to the Rhode Island border. So it's about 750 miles of coastline. So it's a decent coverage area, but it's a very busy one. So because of those mass strandings, it's a really unique place in that these mass strandings have been happening for hundreds and hundreds of years here. They're not necessarily caused by, in other regions, for example, an animal might come in because it's chronically ill or injured or is suffering from human interaction, so maybe a severe entanglement or things like that, which of course we have those cases here, but those mass stranding events are, we believe, kind of a more natural occurrence. So we find that these animals are likely probably just getting disoriented. The majority of our mass strandings occur in Wellfleet, where there's 12 feet of water at high tide, and then as the tide recedes, they're left stranded. It also, Cape Cod sticks out into the Atlantic Ocean, and within that there's a spit of land in Wellfleet that also sticks out, so they can get disoriented. They're pelagic or offshore animals, so they're not used to these tidal fluctuations, so if they come in with plenty of water chasing food, they can very likely just be in the wrong place at the wrong time. So we've been fortunate enough in the respect that for the most part we found that most of these mass stranded animals are seemingly healthy, which is amazing. So we are able then to take them basically from where they strand. We extract them using custom stretchers. We're able to put them in our mobile dolphin rescue clinic, which we're able to, our veterinarians in there with us, performing full health assessments, running bloods, and getting those diagnostics. We're able to also do EKGs so that she can monitor all the animals at once. And there's ultrasound technology as well. So we've been determined pregnancy to help better support those pregnant females in the group. So there's a really lot that goes on in there to try to help determine what's going on in their health. And if they are healthy enough, we are able to relocate them in our big rescue vehicle and bring them to a predetermined release site. And those are based on proximity to water. So from the parking lot to the water, it's a fairly short walk regardless of tide. And also they have nice access to deep water. So we always take them from where they strand to evaluate them, but also to get them out of that dangerous stranding spot. Our single-stranded history kind of started in 2010. So it was believed then that these animals, single-stranded, that were social animals, shouldn't be released because they thought if it does get released, it's probably not going to find another group of dolphins. And even if it does, it probably won't assimilate into that group and it won't do well. And we really wanted to challenge that. There's a satellite tag project that was initiated in 2010, spearheaded by our veterinarian. We were able to give an authorization by NOAA, or the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, to tag these animals that looked healthy and send them out. And it was amazing to see. We'd have whale watches and people report into us that they saw our tagged dolphin in a group of many other dolphins swimming together, assimilated into the group. So it was a huge success for those animals and for their welfare, and also a huge success for our team. And so coming here now to the Dolphin Rescue Center, I kind of feel like that's the next step in this process. So we're looking at taking in those single-stranded dolphins that look like, well, you're a borderline candidate. You could be released with a satellite tag, but we want to make sure we're making the most responsible decision for you. So you would benefit from additional care. So that's where this place comes in. So we can take dolphins. Most likely it'll be a common dolphin or Atlantic white-sided dolphins, which we see most often, or a harbor porpoise. They're a little smaller, a lot easier to manage. The juveniles are only about 3 feet and adults 5, so a lot easier to manage. But we are able to accept up to approximately 550-pound animal. This is just our innovative pilot project. That again opened last year in October, that we're just really trying to explore the feasibility and utility of short-term stranded cetacean rehabilitation as a means to better inform treatment protocols and disposition decisions for animals, and then translate that into the field so that we can better care for those animals in real time in the field as well.
Right. So can you only take one at a time?
Currently, yes, that is
Okay.
what we're aiming for. And so far, we've had 2 patients. We took our first one in March. It was a single-stranded. It was a juvenile male, and then we took one again in April. That was another juvenile male.
Is there a certain time of year that they tend to strand?
Wonderful question. So generally, and in the past, we'd always say December, January through April was our busy time. Kind of in the winter months, we'd see a lot of strandings, a lot of mass strandings in particular. It's been interesting in recent years. We've really seen that it's really kind of spread out throughout the year. We've had a lot of summer strandings, and really, yes, throughout the year. So, what does it attribute to? It's hard to say. With global warming, things are shifting and changing. So, the Gulf of Maine is warming up faster than any other body of water in the world. So maybe prey species are moving and redistributing, which would cause animals to move.
Right.
So we've also seen different species here. We've also seen, so we usually get a handful of bottlenose dolphins a year. This year we have a couple mass strandings of them. So we're seeing them more often, which is really interesting. And over the last number of years, we've even had manatee sightings, which isn't completely unusual, but this time of year we actually recently had one, and they should be headed south. So things are shifting and changing. So our busy season has been fairly consistent throughout the year for dolphin strandings.
And do you always put a satellite tag on them? Is that the goal?
So any animal that will be released from this facility will always get a satellite tag, just to track that better. So if we have a mass stranding event, satellite tags, there are a couple different kinds, and they can be expensive for sure.
Yes, yes.
So we also have another identifying tag. It's almost like a cattle ear tag, what they put on cattle. So we have an applicator. We're able to put it on their dorsal fin. So when they surface, it has its own unique identifying number. So if whale watch vessels, for example, or someone spots it, they're able to call us in, give us the number, and we know where that animal is, how it's doing. So we do tag every animal just to make sure that we're being responsible and knowing what happens to them should they get seen again and reported. So they're called Kaisley tags. They give a biopsy punch. They're nice, clean through the dorsal fin. So it gives us a skin sample for genetics, which is wonderful.
So what happened, I think it was last summer, there was a couple of huge mass strandings, and people had to get out there and try to get them back in the water. Tell us what happened with that.
Yeah, that was a very interesting day. We've had a number of larger mass stranding events. In 2020, we had 45. But this year certainly outmatched that. We had a report of initially 10 dolphins in Wellfleet that were stranded. That turned quickly into 100, which quickly turned into 120, which quickly exceeded that as people got out there and saw what was happening. It was incredible, and I hope that we don't continue to see these, but it's difficult too because it's a warmer day when these things aren't happening through the winter. The sun's hitting down on these animals, so they're out of the water, they're exposed, they're under the weight of their own bodies instead of that buoyant environment of the water. They have the sun beating down. They have potentially, gulls like to go for these vulnerable animals when they're out of the water. So it's a lot of time taking people to get out to the animals for supportive care, or basically to make the animals safe and comfortable. So we did everything we could to prioritize that, getting sheets over the animals behind the blowhole, but just to protect their skin, and right them so they weren't lying on their side. So when the tide come in, we want their blowhole up so they can breathe and give them the best shot at swimming off. So it was incredible. Our team was great. We had so much help from other agencies, the police department, park service, fire department. Everyone was there helping. General public, our volunteers, we have over 200 volunteers who are amazing.
People came from National Marine Life Center as
Yes,
well. Yeah.
it was amazing to have that support and that help, because that event actually went on for 5 days. So the initial day, it was that 145 animals. That morning actually started with a single stranded animal that was released. And then we're like, okay, let's go back. People were going to get breakfast. And then we got the call about that stranding. Because there were so many, we couldn't extract them like we usually do. We wanted to keep them together, and we just wouldn't have had time. So we just gave them supportive care and made them comfortable until that tide came back in, at which time you could remove all the sheets and blankets, make sure the animals are righted, and do your very best to get to each and every one to refloat them. And then that boat that I was in, basically we call it herding. So you take those animals and you try to push them away from shore and out to deeper water. So basically the animal group would be here and shore, and you just take your vessel and try to work them out.
Okay.
And to work out that many animals, they were everywhere, and it was incredible. But that was overall a very successful day.
Is there any understanding of why that occurred? I mean, that's a very strange event. Do they tend to follow each other so that if one comes in too close, they're all going to come?
It's possible. So again, they're really social. They're tight-knit animals. They have that kind of community. So a lot of times we say these mass strandings are because they're so social. They stick together, and maybe they're all chasing food, or maybe there's one animal in the group that's bringing them in or not doing well that they're staying with. No, we don't know why that particular event occurred. There have been a lot of bait fish in Wellfleet, unfortunately, this year. So animals have been coming in and been pretty active in there.
Okay.
But really don't know why they made their way in the first place.
So if someone's out in the water in their boat and they see something strange, like they see a dead animal, or they see a bunch of dolphins that look like they're coming in too close to shore, or if they see a dolphin on the beach, what should they do?
Wonderful question. We ask first that people keep their distance. I know everyone wants to help, and they're such beautiful, intelligent species. It's hard to say, stand back, don't put it back in the water. But we do always ask that people stand at least 150 feet back, because it's very stressful to the animal. They're not used to what's happening to them, and especially people walking around them, it's stressful. And we want to keep the public safe, because and they're also not authorized. So these animals are protected. So our group is authorized by the National Marine Fisheries Service to actually handle and respond to these animals. And even handling them is incredibly dangerous. They're very powerful, and they might look vulnerable on land, but they can move, and they're very strong, so knowing how to handle them correctly. So we just ask that people stay back and call us immediately. We have a 24-hour stranding hotline number, which people are welcome to call at any time, and basically notifying us first so that we can then advise them on what to do. We may sometimes ask someone, could you stand back but stay put, just to educate other people in the area should they come by, and also to make sure maybe that gulls and other animals don't start to go for that. If your presence is there and felt, that animal might just be able to be a lot better off than if you were to walk away.
Okay. I know with seals, they can get bit by dogs.
Oh yeah, yes, absolutely. And people can get bit by seals. We've had, folks well-meaning try to put them in the water. And seals are semi-aquatic. They don't need to be in the water all the time. Right. But not everyone knows that. So they try to be helpful and take matters into their own hands and put them back in the water. They're zoonoses, so these are mammals just like us. So they can transmit diseases to us and us to them in turn. So it's really dangerous, and we ask that people not put them back in the water. Sometimes we've had videos of very well-meaning people drag them back into the water, and it's difficult because they could dislocate parts if they're dragging by the tail. The tail stalk is actually the most dangerous place to be. So we just ask that they leave it where it is, as difficult as that can be, again, for their safety, but we've had a number of people too push animals back off. They say, oh, it's in the surf, I'm just going to give it a push off, and that's what's best for it, and we totally understand that. But the animal is there and stranded for a reason. So it could be an emaciated animal that's had this chronic health condition for a long time, and maybe the best option for it is to be put down. We've had, or just a better assessment and get it away from, the environment that it's currently in to a better location for it. So we like to get hands-on and get assessments, just so that that animal doesn't take off, strand somewhere where no one sees it and it's not reported and suffers longer. So.
Yeah. People also call you if they see even if they see a dead whale on the beach, don't they call you as well?
They do, yeah. So all live and dead whales as well are in our purview. So here on Cape Cod, south to the Rhode Island border. So we deal with the live ones as necessary, and then the dead ones. We have a wonderful team that coordinates necropsies or animal autopsies on those animals to try to help determine cause of death, if there was any human interaction involved, or if it looked more natural. So they definitely work very hard to get to each dead stranded whale as they can, as is feasible, to really help investigate what happened so that we can then help with conservation measures and advocacy and things like that. Some of these documentations of human interaction, whether it's on whales or other marine mammals, they really have started to work with fishermen and in collaboration with fishermen to help develop ropeless gear so that they don't have these vertical lines in the water that these animals can get entangled in. Yeah. So these innovations are definitely happening, and people are definitely working with people to try to mitigate these impacts. So it's definitely a big part of what we do, is seeing what's actually happening in the environment and trying to how can we fix this with what humans are causing. The North Atlantic right whale is critically endangered. The numbers are unfortunately dwindling, and they've been, it's been very difficult for them to rebound with the entanglements and vessel strikes and just a lot of things that are going on in the environment. So we're really advocating for them and hopefully for them to rebound. But their numbers are quite low right now, so people are there are a lot of wonderful people and groups trying to work quickly to change things for them.
Well, I hope they're successful.
I hope so too. Another big part of this facility, two more things, I think just another great part of it is it's again for those single-stranded animals, but also it's another option to an environment to bring them where we've had animals that have stranded and we take them out from where they stranded and assess them, but weather conditions may be so bad or unfavorable that it's very dangerous to release them. Dangerous for people to get back into the water. We typically we go about yay high in the water with them and hands-on and release them. But if the surf's coming in, we need to know that we can bring that animal somewhere. And so this is just another option to bring an animal somewhere, to wait out those conditions, and then maybe provide a little additional care, and then get it back when the release conditions are a lot safer. Yeah. We're also hopefully going to be more of a training facility, so we're hoping, because we have such a high frequency of strandings for dolphins, that places that don't, within our region particularly, when we get a patient in-house, we have folks on call that are interested in what we do. They're also stranding responders for other areas and other coverage regions. So we can call them when we have a patient, and they're able to come join us for the entirety of that animal's stay if they're able to. And this is really training for not rehabilitation, but for stranding response.
So do you have an area that's open to the public for education?
We do. So the front of our building is actually a dedicated education and outreach building. We have a lot of boards that are up explaining what stranding events are, what they look like on Cape Cod, what our team does, how these strandings and why they occur. So there's a lot of great information out there. There's some kids' activities to hopefully engage them as well. And we also do, so in the summertime primarily, in the busier months with folks coming to visit, we do have our education outreach area open typically on Saturdays 9 to 12, just so people are able to come in and visit. We do also have a TV that's streaming, so it does show our equipment, our team with our first couple of patients, and then if we actually do have an animal in-house, they're able to live stream this pool and actually what's going on inside. So they're able to see us handling the animal, giving treatment.
Well, I know we appreciate very much what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys coming and exposing the community to the work we're doing here. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Jane.
Thank you.